Last news story of the day here. Metacritic has removed. This is kind of a weird one. Metacritic has removed 6,000 negative Death Stranding reviews, changing the game score from 5.1 to 7.4. And that's a really big jump. That's like,
Yeah,
in
this
my
game
opinion,
sucks,
like on
said.
Metacritic, like a horrible game that I wouldn't buy to like, okay, like I would look at the game. Like it's like public opinion definitely shifts from this. Um, there were 78 new positive reviews written between the 4th and the 5th of December. While the number of negative reviews dropped from 9,335 to 2,906 in the same time period. Right now, currently there are 8,864 positive reviews and only 3,207 negatives. So there has been like a huge shift in the amount, obviously, from this change. Metacritic has chalked up their actions to review bombing as they flagged users for suspicious activity, or at least as they said they did. And here's a quote from them. Metacritic takes issues of potential score manipulation seriously and has a number of policies in place to maintain score integrity. Moderators regularly review the site and remove any entries that do not fall within our guidelines, in addition to a moderation queue where Metacritic users can flag unusual behavior. Moderators then review and remove any entries that violate our terms of service. So, I mean, that's a lot of jargon, but that's what they said. This reminds me a lot of like the Steam Borderlands 3 review bombs that we talked about a few months ago. When Borderlands 3 revealed they were going to be exclusively on Epic, and then everybody came in and Borderlands 2 and Borderlands 1, and then Steam removed those. But this is like a little bit different. This game has been out like for a while. Like I don't think there's been any announcement that would cause like this hefty amount of. So I'd love to get your thoughts here. This is kind of like a weird story that I'm having trouble wrapping my head around.
You and I talked about this earlier, and I think this is just flat out bullshit. Like to make a game, like okay, if your MO and prerogative is to go on a review website and like or put out a bot that's going to generate 1,000 negative reviews in the course of 24 hours, like whatever, man, like get a life. But at the same time, 5.1 to 7.4, exactly like you said, that's like saying like, well, it looks like I'm never touching this game to, oh, maybe I'll get it on sale. You
Yep.
know, so like, I heard like V said he really enjoyed it. Like, are there elements of this game that I'm sure are enjoyable? Like, okay, yeah, it all comes down to a matter of opinion, but like, I just don't trust this at all. This just is shady to me. Like, I wouldn't think that Kojima would like slide Metacritic a bill under the table or anything to say, hey, hype my game up or anything. But like,
No, but I bet
like,
Norman Reedus would.
I doubt it. But you see what I'm getting at here? Like, this is like shady. Like, this shit's like not cool.
Well, here's what's a little bit shady to me. It's always the negative reviews that go away, but there's
Yeah.
never fake positive reviews. Why is that?
Oh, but
I
they're
mean, was
like,
that really the case, or
you
Well,
can't even try. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah. I mean, you have to assume that there's a lot of Hideo Kojima fanboys out there that were going to give the game a 10, whether he like just reskinned like Barney's Big Adventure or whatever, and made it edgy.
10!
Yeah, and everyone's like, oh, he's a genius. And Hideo Kojima's been a part of some really great games, but there is this, I don't know, he's like larger than life in the gaming community, and it almost feels like everybody has to protect Hideo Kojima. From what I saw of that game, personally, I haven't played it. It didn't look like a game that would hold a candle to Metal Gear Solid. I would say that. I wouldn't play it. I think a lot of people would probably say they're completely different games and they look like it. But there's some obvious signs that there's some pandering here towards him, and I'm sure a lot of people went on there, and you probably should get rid of all the reviews that are like zeros and ones and twos, because just from like a graphical standpoint and the acting and the story elements, that game is not a 0 or a 1 or a 2. Like I can say that just by looking at it. I don't have to play it. I could say that's a fact.
Yeah, it's not Barney's Big Adventure, right?
Right.
Do you think that it would be a good idea if Steam, rather than like eliminating, or even Metacritic, than just like eliminating reviews. That you should have some sort of like. Look, I'm not saying that you are required to play umpteen hours of a game before you are.
Well, I was thinking. This is the second time this happened tonight, Josh. I was thinking the same thing.
Like you should have at
I
least
really was.
played the game or have like unlocked like there's like an achievement that you get in the game that recognizes that you. I mean, it already tracks your achievement, right? So it's not like it would be that invasive to say like, you beat the game. Now you can leave a review. You know, you can't because like I've been looking forward to GTFO for a few years now. It just came out yesterday. Within 12 hours of the game being out, all negative reviews. You know, and I'm not saying that the reasons behind the game that, you know, like they're false reviews or something. I'm just saying like you go in and like, are you really going to trust a review that this guy posted this review? He has 0.1 hours played on the game. Like, okay, you played what, less than 10 minutes of the game.
Right. Yeah, you probably
What
just
the
refunded
fuck
it.
do you have to say?
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem with like review bombing or whatever, how do you determine what reviews are actual people reviewing the game and what people are just giving it a negative review because they don't like the game or they don't like the producer or they did something that pissed them off, or if it's just a fanboy that didn't even play the game but just loves the studio and posting tens. So you have to. That's our problem, right? So how do you fix it? And I think the only way to fix it, and like the best way, it's never going to be perfect, right? It's just not something that can ever be perfect. But there's definitely ways to improve it. And I think the point you guys made about some sort of like you have to have so many hours logged into the game and then link your account to the review site or whatever, something along those lines, or like a disclaimer in, like, you know what I mean? It's like this guy played it for 0.1 hours. This guy played it for 30 hours. So like I'm going to take the guy that played it for 30 hours, his review more seriously because he actually fucking played the game. Where the guy that played it for 10 minutes, why would I take this guy's opinion because he didn't really play the game? There has to be some way to filter it out without just like, because like what are they doing now? How do they filter it out? Like
I feel like this just pushes like more power to the influencers and the streamers, which like we
True.
see happening every day, right? Like past like 5 years. But it's like, who can you trust? Because like the gaming websites that do reviews, you can't trust them. You really can't. I mean, they have like the worst takes on everything. And you can't trust the user reviews now, for the most part, unless it's like really a masterpiece and it's just like known that this game's great. So who do you turn to? You just have to hope that one of your favorite streamers plays the game, right?
Like, look,
And then if they like it, then you buy it.
there could be
that or friends, like you know what I mean? If you have friends that play games, like there's
Yeah.
definitely I have friends that play games and like I would value their opinion. You know what I mean? Like I know they're not feeding me shit, so I think it's like a balance between like watching streamers play it, reading reviews, seeing what your friends say. You know what I mean? You have to like kind of take input from all.
I mean, when it comes
all
down
different
to
sources.
like brass tacks, that's not what it's about, though. You know what I mean? Those guys aren't going to look at like what, you know, if there's 7 good reviews and 3 bad reviews, and the 7 good reviews are just smiley faces or thumbs up symbols, and the 3 bad reviews are like thought out, processed, like paragraph, article long bad reviews. You know, that game is still going to show up according to the algorithm on Steam that it's positive over it is negative, when these guys are just like, you know, or say, you know, it could be opposite. You know, 6 reviews are good and the other 5 have dicks drawn on them. You know, it's like, so
one of the points in this article was that yes, they removed the scores from these bad ones, but they left the wording, like they left the word reviews on the site. Like this was some like great like champion thing that they did, and I was thinking to myself like, well, who the fuck cares? Like I can't see the score, and I'm not sorting through 8,000 reviews to read them all. So like, what does that do?
Are they really you know what the real solution is? Just Metacritic can go fuck off.
Yeah, right. I agree.
It's just they've been doing this bullshit for like the last like 10, I don't even know how long they've been around, but like it's like years and years. You hear about Metacritic like fudging their numbers, like oh, what should, you know, yada yada game, like all the critics gave it like a 10, and all the users gave it like a 2. So we adjusted that correctly, and it got a 9.9. So
Well, yeah, and it's like, well, like Death Stranding, it's a 5.1 or 7.4, and then you look at like, I'm gonna piss people off again. You look at Jedi Fallen Order, and it gets like, it's like 8, 8.5 easy. And you're like, what? Like, yeah, that game was okay. It's not an 8.5. It's not an 8. If Death Stranding is a 5.1 or even a 7.4, I don't think Jedi Fallen Order is above a 7.4. Like critically, I really don't. I really don't believe that. And it's like anything with a title or title, 9.9.
At least on Steam, like you're going off of what people are saying. It's not like who, like Wolf said, who made the people over at Metacritic the golden standard of averaging good reviews to bad reviews, and it deserves this one over this one. At least on Steam, you can just go on the list and see, whether they're dumping review bombs or not. At least you can go on there and individually. It's not like Steam's rating it. You'll get like the very positive or mostly negative, but you're generally gonna click on why it's mostly positive. At least I do. But like Wolf said, like who the fuck made them the guys that are like, okay, if Metacritic says it's good, then it's got to be good, or bad,
I mean, they own the site, so
Yeah, it's a great idea in theory, but in practice, I feel like the Metacritic experiment has not been very truthful. I never go there for a game review to see if I should buy something. If I'm questioning something like Death Stranding, I'm probably not going to buy it now, even if it comes out on PC or whatever. But if I'm on the fence, I'm not like, oh, let's see what Metacritic had to say about that. It's not happening. Never.
Just like I don't trust the Golden fucking Joysticks Awards to name their best game of the year. Like
was it? Didn't Resident Evil 2 win? Did we talk about that?
Yeah, like a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess like I just don't get like what is their criteria for removing reviews? Like how do they know that these 8,000 negative reviews, these 5,000 were bullshit? How
they review the site and remove any entries that's a guideline, in addition to a moderation queue where they can flag unusual behavior, Dave.
Yeah, it just sounds arbitrary, and they can just remove whatever they want. There's no like actual.
Yeah, it's extremely arbitrary.
I don't know. Wolf put it in layman's terms. It's just bullshit.
Yeah, it is bullshit. I agree.
And bullshit.
Dude, the only one worse is Rotten Tomatoes. Like, if you have a movie trailer and your trailer's, it's guaranteed certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, like that's the only way to like keep me away from the theater at all costs. Like, I will never walk in there.
Yeah. You used to be able to trust the audience score on that. You can't even do that now.
Right.
I think the TLDR for this topic is fuck them. And by fuck them, I mean Metacritic.
Okay, that's settled then. All right, thanks so much for coming on. Thank you for listening, as always. If you really, really like the show, you can support us by going to patreon.com/arcadianmedia. Or you can also leave us a 5-star iTunes review. It really, really helps us out. But other than that, thank you so much again, and hopefully we will see you next week.